The massive alien ship creaked and groaned as it drifted through the dark emptiness of space. Kirill sat in the command center, his hands trembling slightly as he reviewed the catastrophic data streaming across the holographic screens. Their entire world was moments away from total destruction. Just 3 standard galactic weeks ago, their scientists had discovered a massive gamma-ray burst heading directly toward their home planet, Zyrax, a beautiful blue-green world that had sustained their civilization for thousands of generations, would be completely vaporized within days. Millions of lives hung in the balance. Kirill adjusted his communication systems, sending out desperate signals to any civilization that might be listening. Most advanced species rarely responded to distress calls from unknown civilizations. The galactic communication protocols were complex, and most races preferred to remain isolated and protect their own interests. The ship's internal systems were failing. Cool blue warning lights flickered across control panels, indicating multiple system breakdowns. Oxygen recycling was operating at 37% efficiency. Power generators were struggling to maintain basic life support. If no help arrived soon, they would drift into oblivion. 3 other diplomats sat around Kirill, their faces pale and exhausted. They had been working without rest, sending continuous transmission signals hoping someone, anyone, would hear their plea. Each of them knew the brutal mathematics of their situation. Without external intervention, their entire species would become nothing more than a footnote in cosmic history. Their long-range sensors picked up minimal responses. A few distant civilizations had acknowledged the transmission, but none had committed to a rescue mission. The Zentari coalition had sent a polite diplomatic response explaining their current resource limitations. The Proxima network simply did not respond at all. Kirill remembered the stories his grandmother used to tell about ancient space exploration, how their civilization once dreamed of traveling between stars, of discovering new worlds and making incredible scientific discoveries. Now those dreams would die with them, scattered across the cold vacuum of space. The ship's computer calculated their remaining survival time. 47 standard days. Less than 7 standard weeks before complete system failure. Each passing hour reduced their chances of survival. Their population of 4.2 million souls depended on this final, desperate transmission. As a last-ditch effort, Kirill began broadcasting on every known frequency. He included detailed astronomical data about their situation, precise coordinates of their location, and a comprehensive overview of their technological capabilities. He wanted to prove they were worth saving. "We are the Zyraxians," his message began. "Our world faces total destruction. We seek immediate assistance from any spacefaring civilization willing to help us survive." The transmission repeated continuously, a digital cry for help echoing through the vast, silent universe. Kirill knew the odds were slim. Most advanced civilizations were protective of their resources. Rescuing an entire species was a massive undertaking that required extraordinary commitment. Hours passed, then days. The ship's systems continued to degrade. Food synthesizers were operating at minimal capacity. Environmental controls struggled to maintain breathable atmospheric conditions. Each system failure brought them closer to extinction. Kirill's team took shifts monitoring the communication systems. They tracked every minor signal, every tiny response. Hope was becoming a rare commodity. Most of them had already begun preparing final memorial records documenting their civilization's history to preserve some memory of their existence. On the 17th day of transmission, something unexpected happened. A distant signal began to form. It was weak at first, almost imperceptible, but it grew stronger with each passing hour. Someone was responding. The communication system crackled. Strange symbols began forming on the display. A language they did not immediately recognize, but which seemed structured and intelligent. For the first time in weeks, a glimmer of hope emerged. Kirill leaned forward, his heart racing. Whatever was coming, whatever response they were about to receive, would determine the fate of their entire civilization. The universe seemed to hold its breath, waiting. Little did they know, Humanity was about to answer their call in a way no one could have ever predicted. The Global Interstellar Response Center hummed with intense activity. Jay Park stood at the central monitoring station, his fingers moving quickly across holographic displays as the alien transmission played on repeat. The room was filled with scientists, military strategists, and government officials, all focused on the unexpected message. "It's legitimate," announced Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the lead xenolinguistics expert. "The transmission contains complex mathematical and astronomical data that checks out completely." Within hours, the entire planet mobilized. This wasn't just another diplomatic challenge. This was a potential species-level rescue mission that would require unprecedented global cooperation. The first meetings were chaotic. Military leaders argued about resource allocation. Scientific teams debated technological approaches. Economic advisors calculated potential costs. But something unusual happened. Instead of blocking the rescue effort, every department began collaborating. Private space corporations like New Horizon and Starbridge immediately offered their most advanced technologies. Massive cargo ships designed for deep space mining were quickly retrofitted for potential refugee transportation. Engineering teams worked around the clock, transforming existing technology into potential life-saving mechanisms. Universities worldwide began emergency research programs. Genetic preservation teams started developing advanced biological storage techniques. Planetary reconstruction specialists mapped potential new habitats that could support the alien civilization. Hyun Kim, the chief engineering specialist, presented a radical plan. Instead of simply rescuing the aliens, humanity would provide a complete relocation package. This meant not just saving lives, but preserving their entire cultural and biological ecosystem. "We're not just saving a species," Hyun explained during a global broadcast. "We're offering them a second chance at existence." Governments that had previously been rivals now worked together. Resources were pooled. Technology was shared. The entire planet seemed to move with a single, unified purpose. Satellite networks were repositioned. Communication arrays were upgraded. Every available scientific and technological resource was redirected toward understanding and helping the alien civilization. The global media covered the developing story 24 hours a day. People watched live updates, seeing humanity's most ambitious rescue mission unfold in real time. Social media platforms buzzed with discussions, support, and unprecedented global solidarity. Agricultural teams began designing specialized ecosystem modules. These would allow the aliens to recreate their home environment on a new planet. Genetic scientists prepared comprehensive preservation techniques to maintain the diversity of their species. Military strategists developed protective protocols. While the mission was humanitarian, they needed to ensure the safety of both the rescue teams and the alien refugees. Advanced shield technologies and defensive systems were prepared, just in case. Computer systems around the world ran complex simulations. They calculated migration routes, planetary reconstruction scenarios, and potential long-term survival strategies for the alien civilization. Funding was never a question. Governments, corporations, and individual citizens contributed. Crowdfunding campaigns raised billions within days. People understood this was more than a rescue mission. This was a defining moment for human civilization. The first prototype, rescue modules, were completed in just 3 weeks. These were massive ships equipped with everything needed to transport and sustain an entire alien population. Each module was essentially a mobile, self-contained world. Psychological support. Teams were also prepared. They developed communication protocols and adaptation programs to help the aliens transition to their new environment. Understanding and empathy were considered as crucial as technological solutions. Space training centers began preparing the first wave of rescue teams. Specialists from every possible field were selected and rapidly trained. They would need to be scientists, medical professionals, engineers, and diplomats all at once. Quantum communication systems were developed to maintain constant contact with the alien ship. Every possible scenario was anticipated and prepared for. As the first rescue ships were being loaded, a sense of collective purpose spread across the planet. Humanity was about to do something unprecedented, save an entire alien civilization from certain extinction. Jay Park looked at the final preparation reports and allowed himself a small smile. They were ready. Whatever challenges came, humanity would face them together. The massive human fleet emerged from hyperspace like a constellation of mechanical giants. Hundreds of ships, each the size of small cities, approached the dying alien world. Each vessel carried specialized equipment, advanced technologies, and teams of experts prepared for the most complex rescue mission in human history. Yoon Lee, the lead xenobiologist, stood on the command deck of the primary vessel. Her eyes scanned the holographic displays showing the alien planet's deteriorating condition. Gamma radiation was already beginning to strip away the planet's protective atmosphere. "We have approximately 72 hours, she told her team. Not a minute can be wasted. The first contact teams made communication with the alien ship. Kirill and his fellow diplomats watched in stunned silence as human rescue modules began their precision approach. The technology was beyond anything they had ever imagined. Entire ecosystems could be transported. Entire civilizations could be saved. Specialized extraction pods began landing on the alien planet's surface. These weren't simple transport vehicles. They were complete preservation units designed to capture entire segments of the planet's environment. Forests, water systems, geological formations. Everything would be carefully collected and stored. Genetic preservation became the top priority. Advanced scanning technologies mapped every living organism on the planet. DNA samples were collected, stored in quantum-stable containers that could preserve life information for thousands of years. No species, no matter how small, would be left behind. The aliens watched in complete amazement. Human teams worked with a level of efficiency and coordination that seemed almost impossible. Where other civilizations would have taken months or years to plan such a mission, humans completed critical tasks in mere hours. Massive terraforming ships began preparing a new homeworld. Using advanced planetary engineering techniques, they transformed a previously uninhabitable planet into a near-perfect replica of the aliens' original home. Mountain ranges were constructed. Oceans were carefully designed. Atmospheric conditions were precisely calibrated. Medical teams worked to understand the aliens' biological needs. Special chambers were created to help them transition. These weren't just medical facilities. They were complete life support systems that could adapt to the most complex biological requirements. Communication wasn't just about language. Human experts developed comprehensive translation systems that could communicate not just words, but cultural nuances, emotional contexts, and complex scientific concepts. The rescue wasn't just physical. It was a complete cultural preservation mission. Museums were prepared. Historical records were carefully digitized. Every aspect of the alien civilization would be saved, protected, and respected. Power systems from the alien ships were carefully integrated with human technologies. This wasn't a simple rescue. It was a complete technological merger that would benefit both civilizations. Kirill and his fellow diplomats were given complete access to the rescue operations. They could observe, ask questions, and participate. The humans treated them not as refugees, but as partners in a massive survival effort. Specialized ships began moving entire sections of the planet. Massive anti-gravity generators lifted entire landscapes, forests, lakes, mountain ranges, preparing them for transportation. It was like watching an entire world being carefully picked up and moved. The speed was unprecedented. Where other civilizations would have taken decades, humans completed critical rescue operations in days. Every team worked with a sense of urgent purpose, understanding that millions of lives depended on their success. Psychological support teams worked continuously. They understood that surviving a planetary destruction was traumatic. Special adaptation programs were designed to help the aliens process their loss and prepare for their new beginning. As the final extraction began, something remarkable happened. The aliens realized this wasn't just a rescue. This was a rebirth. Humanity wasn't just saving them. They were giving them a complete second chance at existence. The last transport lifted off just hours before the gamma-ray burst would have completely destroyed their homeworld. Millions of lives, an entire civilization's worth of history, culture, and potential, all saved by an unprecedented display of human compassion and technological capability. Kiral looked out the window of the transport ship, watching their dying world disappear. Tears formed in his eyes, not of sadness but of complete and total hope. Humanity had not just rescued them, they had transformed their entire future. The new planet glowed under artificial sunlight, a perfect replica of the aliens' lost home. But this was more than just a relocation. This was a complete transformation that would change everything the Xeraxians understood about survival. Wu Chen walked among the first settlement zones, observing the intricate details of the new world. Human teams had done more than simply move a civilization. They had given them a future beyond their wildest imagination. Genetic reconstruction laboratories worked around the clock. Each alien would receive comprehensive medical treatments that would not just preserve their current genetic structure, but enhance their species' potential. Genetic diseases were being eliminated. Biological weaknesses were being strengthened. The first shock came when the aliens discovered the extent of human intervention. It wasn't just about saving them. It was about giving them a completely upgraded existence. Advanced neural interfaces were developed to help them adapt to their new environment. Educational systems were created that would accelerate their technological understanding by hundreds of years. Agricultural zones appeared like magic. Sophisticated farming systems could produce food with 500% more efficiency than their previous civilization had ever achieved. Water purification systems made every drop of liquid pure and sustainable. Energy production became completely clean and unlimited. Kiral discovered something even more surprising. The humans weren't charging anything for this massive intervention. They were providing everything: technology, medical support, educational resources, without expecting any form of payment or return. "Why are you doing this?" Kiral asked Wu Chen during one of their many conversations. Chen's response was simple: "Because we can." Psychological adaptation programs helped the aliens process their massive transformation. Teams of human experts worked to ensure that while their entire civilization was being upgraded, their cultural identity remained intact. Traditional ceremonies were preserved. Historical records were perfectly maintained. The technological jump was extraordinary. Where the Xeraxians had been a spacefaring civilization with limited capabilities, they were now receiving technologies that were decades, perhaps centuries, ahead of their previous understanding. Communication networks were established that connected every individual. Advanced quantum communication systems meant that no Xeraxian would ever feel isolated again. Medical monitoring systems could predict and prevent health issues before they even developed. Educational platforms were revolutionary. Each alien could access comprehensive learning systems that would allow them to understand complex scientific and technological concepts in months instead of generations. Children could learn multiple advanced disciplines simultaneously. Manufacturing capabilities were completely transformed. Small production units could now create complex machinery, medical equipment, and technological devices with unprecedented speed and precision. Every household could potentially become a mini research center. The unexpected part wasn't just the technological intervention, it was the human approach. They didn't treat the Xeraxians as victims or refugees. They treated them as potential partners in future galactic exploration and development. Transportation systems were developed that could potentially allow interstellar travel within a few generations. The aliens went from a civilization on the brink of extinction to potentially becoming one of the most advanced species in their galactic sector. Ecological restoration wasn't just about preserving their previous environment. Human teams helped them develop sustainable systems that could adapt to multiple planetary conditions. They were preparing the Xeraxians not just to survive, but to thrive. Cultural preservation teams worked meticulously. Every song, every story, every historical record was not just saved but enhanced. Virtual reality systems could allow future generations to experience their civilization's entire history in perfect detail. As weeks turned into months, the Xeraxians began to understand the true meaning of their rescue. This wasn't just survival. This was a complete rebirth. Kirill watched the first generation of children born on the new world. They played in perfectly designed environments, their health monitored, their potential unlimited. These children would never know the fear of extinction. They would only know possibility. Humanity had done more than save a civilization. They had gifted them an entirely new future. 20 years had passed since the rescue. The new Xeraxian world gleamed like a jewel of technological marvel and biological harmony. What was once a desperate rescue mission had transformed into something far more profound. Kirill stood on the observation deck of the Central Planetary Administration building, watching the sunset. His grandchildren played in the gardens below, their laughter echoing through perfectly designed ecological zones. They would never know the terror of extinction that had once threatened their entire species. The first generation of post-rescue Xeraxians had become something extraordinary. Their educational systems, developed by human experts, had produced the most advanced young scientists in the known galaxy. Where they once struggled to understand complex technologies, now they were developing innovations that surprised even their human mentors. Planetary development had reached levels nobody could have predicted. The world was a perfect balance of technological advancement and natural preservation. Every city was a living ecosystem. Buildings grew like organic structures. Energy systems were completely clean and self-sustaining. Diplomatic relations with humanity had evolved into something unique. It wasn't a typical relationship between rescuer and rescued. It was a genuine partnership of equals. Xeraxian scientists now worked alongside human researchers on multiple interstellar projects. The children born after the rescue had no concept of their previous limitations. They spoke multiple languages, understood quantum mechanics as easily as previous generations understood basic mathematics and saw the universe as a place of unlimited potential. Medical technologies had transformed their entire species. Genetic treatments had eliminated hereditary diseases. Average lifespans had doubled. Physical capabilities had been enhanced without losing their fundamental biological identity. Agricultural systems produced food with such efficiency that hunger became a forgotten concept. Every individual had access to perfect nutrition. Food wasn't just sustenance, it was a carefully designed biological enhancement system. Communication technologies connected every individual in ways that were once unimaginable. Quantum networks allowed instant information sharing. Personal devices could process complex scientific calculations while simultaneously translating between thousands of languages. The rescue had done more than save a civilization. It had given them a completely new trajectory of existence. Where they were once facing total extinction, now they were looking at becoming one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. Educational systems were revolutionary. Children learned multiple disciplines simultaneously. Virtual reality allowed them to experience historical events, scientific processes, and complex cultural contexts with perfect clarity. Learning was no longer a chore. It was an exciting adventure. Space exploration programs were developing rapidly. The first generation of post-rescue Xeraxians were preparing for their own interstellar missions. They were no longer a species waiting to be saved. They were becoming a species ready to explore and help others. Cultural preservation remained a priority. While they embraced new technologies, they never forgot their original traditions. Museums contained perfect recreations of their original world. Ceremonial practices were maintained and celebrated. Wu Chen, now an elderly advisor, would sometimes visit and marvel at what had been accomplished. The rescue mission had become a legendary example of what compassionate intervention could achieve. The relationship with humanity was unique. It wasn't about debt or obligation. It was a genuine partnership of mutual respect and shared curiosity. Xeraxian and human researchers worked together on projects that pushed the boundaries of scientific understanding. Kirill remembered the desperate transmission from years ago, the fear, the hopelessness they had felt. Now, looking at the thriving world around him, it seemed like a distant nightmare. Their children would never know what it meant to be afraid of extinction. They would only know possibility, potential, and the excitement of discovery. As the artificial sun set, casting golden light across the perfectly designed landscape, Kirill smiled. They had not just survived. They had been reborn.